For over a century now, London has been a city of refuge. The progressive independence of the former colonies of the British Empire has provoked a massive influx of Indian, Pakistani, and Jamaican immigrants. And in the past 15 years, London has become a center for other minorities, gays or homosexuals, who recognize themselves as such and insist on their legal and civil rights, have become an important community in the city and a true lobby. They have come from all over the world to find their sexual and social freedom in the English capital. London's gay community has become one of the largest in Europe. In recent months, the gay community has been gripped by terror. Along with AIDS, another evil threatens them: murder by strangling or suffocation. 5 men have already died. Others may die soon because the assassin is one of those men called serial killers, men who kill in series. In the wake of these 5 killings, we have conducted an investigation. Stephen Linus is the editor of one of England's most powerful newspapers, the Daily Mirror. For him, this series of murders is a godsend.
It's a good story because it conjures up fears, and everybody is aware of fears, understands fears, and is fascinated by them. It was a good story too because it was happening all the time. You didn't know when there would be again another body. This man rang up, he taunted the police, he told them he'd killed another one, he told them where to find the bodies. It caused an enormous amount of concern, but also it was a very important story to us, and we gave it a great deal of cover. We went from the front page and 2 or 3 pages inside on the first day, and we continued to follow it every day because it was a real shock over here. We'd never seen anything like that.
Tonight, the gay community has come together to mourn the death of the first of the 5 victims, Peter Walker. Plainclothes policemen have blended into the crowd in the theater, where Walker once worked as an assistant stage director. The police hope that the killer will return to the scene of his crime. Tonight, perhaps the man who has killed 5 homosexuals may be somewhere in this crowd.
Solidarity with Peter Walker, who was tragically killed. Just being with other people and being with other gay men makes you feel stronger, I think. And something like this, which is, all the cast are doing it free of charge and everything, just makes you feel that people do care.
In spite of the risks, journalist Andrew Saxton has carried out his own investigation parallel to the one conducted by the police. We have followed Saxton over the course of this investigation. Andrew Saxton works for the most well-known homosexual newspaper in England, the Pink Paper.
It's been a very strange story, this one, because basically the Peter Walker murder, the first one, was dealt with as a separate murder, and we reported the Walker murder, and there seems to be there were no leads on it.
Peter Walker's life was no fairy tale. He lived alone and for 2 years had known that he had AIDS. His love life was a series of one-night stands. March 8, 1993 was his last night. Returning home with a stranger, Peter played out his masochistic fantasies to the hilt. Up to the moment, he realized his torturer had gone over the limit. The police found Peter suffocated to death with condoms. His body staged in a macabre setting that evoked the Silence of the Lambs. Paul Walker, Peter's older brother, was profoundly shaken by his brother's brutal death. He has agreed to talk about it with us.
Peter had been found in bed, dead. Obviously, there'd been another person involved in Peter's death. It wasn't, in other words, it wasn't suicide or a natural death. That it had been, accident caused during some sexual practice, which has been known and is feasible, and the man had run off in panic. So obviously they were very careful not to state anything that would prejudice any prosecution. We became to accept the fact this was just, if you like, another murder that was unsolved, which again is very upsetting simply because, again, the answer question, who and why.
Without any help from the police, Andrew Saxton follows the trail of the killer to Peter Walker's home. The walls of this rehabilitated council flat filtered the screams of the victim. Witnesses may have seen someone or heard something, but the neighbors are silent, following orders from Scotland Yard.
Now, if you want to leave That's fine, but I want you to leave now.
All right, okay.
Okay, thanks for your help.
A man claiming to be the killer telephoned The Sun, which is like the biggest selling tabloid paper in Britain, saying things like, I've killed him, I'm going to kill one a week, you're never going to catch me, but I want you to go round there because I'm worried about his dogs. So this was very bizarre. And The Sun ran a piece on this saying, you know, this guy's called us claiming I am the gay killer.
He said that he'd killed the man, had tied him up and cleaned up the flat afterwards. He said that the man was a homosexual and was into kinky sex, he put it, and asked us if we were interested.
Tony Murphy is a gay policeman, president of an association protecting gays, and he has no illusions. This first murder won't make radical gays change their behavior.
This area here is what they call in England a cruising area, where gay men go, or maybe homosexual people, not necessarily people who are out gay men who are publicly gay, but often people who are what they call closeted. They come here to meet other men to have sex.
Most of the men who come for sex in the parks are homosexuals or bisexuals. They do not see themselves as gay, either because they're married or because they're afraid of losing their jobs. In these sequences, filmed thanks to an infrared camera, the men barely speak. A glance is sufficient introduction for a trip into the bushes. The killer very likely targeted one or more of his victims in places like these. These individuals are also perfect victims for the gangs of skinheads who come regularly to taunt and to attack them.
For example, in this area here, muggers will come, people to rob the gay men, beat them up and steal their money. And they know that the gay men or the people here, because they're not publicly gay, would be frightened to go to the police. And then an ambulance comes and they take the man to hospital. And the ambulance people, the hospital calls the police and said, look, this man's been beaten up. And the man would say, no, I wasn't there. I wasn't anywhere near Clapham Common. I'm not gay. I fell over. I didn't see anybody, so the police can do nothing. So that's the kind of problem.
During the day, walking the dog is also a means of making contact for a quickie. This does not come without its inconveniences.
It's such funny to see them. You see one sitting here and one sitting over there. They don't say a word. They're just looking out the corner of their eyes, just trying to get off with them, But no, it's a shame. I mean, my children are grown up now, but when they were little, we used to come over here every day, bring our tea, and it was a lovely little spot, but now it's just taken over by them.
What do you think about, their condoms lying on the ground?
Oh, I think it's terrible. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. I mean, okay, these things got to be used, but the way they use the common, it's too bad. Anyway, nice speaking to you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Already used to bearing the brunt of constant violence, London's gay community is still very shaken by this first murder, first AIDS, and now a serial killer, hidden in the shadows. The man you're about to see has, in parallel to police experts, analyzed the motivations and the profile of the killer. He is one of England's most prominent psychiatrists, Dr. Michael Berry. The amazing accuracy of his analyses will be proven in time.
The kind of man who not only kills, but actually wants the adulation of the press. A good example is when he rings up the police or rings up the press to say, I've murdered, and to actually start giving details of when he's going to murder. This man is challenging the police, and they're extremely rare and extremely difficult to deal with.
52 days later, the same modus operandi. The killer attacks a 37-year-old librarian, Christopher Dunn, another adept of sadomasochism. He contracted AIDS several years ago. Strangled to death, his bound and gagged body, arranged in a macabre ceremony, was found 2 days later.
And when they found him, Dunn was wearing bondage gear, but the police apparently thought it was just some kind of sadomasochistic game that had gone wrong, and didn't immediately link it with a strangulation attack. They just thought there'd been really heavy bondage, and it had gone wrong and he'd died.
In spite of the silence imposed by the police, Andrew goes to the scene of the crime, the home of Christopher Dunn.
Oh. Sorry, we're making a film on the.
There's nobody next door.
On the.
Are you from the police?
No, we're making a film on about Mr. Dunn and the other murders in London.
Oh yeah.
Did you know Mr. Dunn?
Yeah.
What was he like?
He was a young fella. He used to work, he was a Liberian, wasn't he? He was very nice. He wouldn't tell me about his business. He only told me once, I told him he had AIDS and he was gay.
How can it be that the neighbors heard nothing during either of these two murders?
In an S&M murder, the victim may well be gagged at his own request to enhance his sexual arousal and pleasure.
In sadomasochistic rituals, the person dominated is the perfect victim for a determined killer. Bound and gagged, he can neither fight nor cry for help, so that the neighbors hear nothing of the torture of the murder that follows. The killer can carry out his fantasies of domination without any struggle from his victim or fear of detection. This domination is also echoed by the killer's determination to provoke the police and the press. He dominates them by stating precisely what he has done and what he plans to do next. He is looking for both domination and publicity. The killer's trail leads to the Coleherne pub. Here Andrew looks for new clues as to who a third victim might be.
The man was controlling the press and the police and causing pandemonium in the process.
Just 5 days after the second murder, Perry Bradley, son of an American senator, crosses the killer's path. The trail ends at 14 Breslin Place, where the killer ties him up, gags him, and strangles him to death.
The police aren't saying whether or not he went out to gay bars very much, maybe because he was closeted. There was a rumour at first that he had a family, a wife and children. He's having sex with men, so he may not identify as homosexual.
As with the other victims, Andrew Saxton continues his investigation.
Hi.
I'm sorry to bother you. I'm a journalist with a gay paper doing a story on the serial killings. I know Perry Bradley.
Yeah, I didn't know him at all.
Did he live above you? Is this his flat up here?
Yeah.
Which is now empty. You didn't know him?
No, not so.
All right. Thank you. I'm sorry to bother you. It's a journalist. I'm doing a story on Perry Bradley, who lived next door at number 14.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Did you not know him?
No.
Not at all?
No. Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks for your help. I'm a journalist doing a story on the serial killings.
Sorry, nothing to say about that.
The third one was an American who wasn't known as homosexual and wasn't particularly thought of in terms of his homosexual murders. In fact, you could have thought of it in terms of maybe political murder. His father was a politician.
Andrew follows the trail to one of the clubs where the killer may have picked his victims. Like city parks, these nightclubs are perfect spots for meeting people and finding quick satisfaction of one's sexual appetite. But the glittering lights of the nightclub don't offer enough anonymity. Having spotted a potential victim in the club, the killer accosts him in the street.
These men are men at risk.
After 3 murders, tension in the gay community is at its height. There are more and more police officers in the streets and around gay meeting places. But Scotland Yard seems powerless in its efforts to re-establish a dialogue with London's homosexual community, which has seen the police as its adversary for years. On the 9th of June, only 5 days after the last murder, Andrew Collier, the concierge of a retirement home, takes a stranger home with him. Same scenario. After having been tied up and gagged, Collier is strangled with a rope.
He was found in his flat in Dalston, and there's this bizarre tale of his cat having its neck strangled. The killer broke the cat's neck. and stuffed Collier's penis into the cat's mouth and then stuck a condom on the cat's tail. And there seems to me a link somewhere between this guy's interest in condoms, because there seems to me to have been some kind of use of condoms at the scenes of the crime, not necessarily for sex. I think, for example, that Walker's body was found with his mouth stuffed full of condoms, so there's something going on there that we need to try and find out about.
At this very moment, Andrew is about to discover very troubling similarities between the first murder and the most recent one.
Everybody really idolised him. I must honestly say that, because he was so kind. He was no way out that he was doing wrong.
And what was the response like when you discovered what had happened to him?
Oh, everybody was really and truly upset. Although it was the first time we found out that he was homosexual, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, personally, it doesn't matter to me what the person is. If that's the way they are, it's the way they are. But if, as I say, for kindness, you certainly couldn't beat him.
After the fourth murder, the gay community accused the police of an unprofessional and suspect laxness in its investigation of a case that had been open for 4 months. Having anticipated the police's failure to find the killer, gay clubs have recruited extra watchmen.
In the fourth case, he strangled the victim, and he also strangled the victim's cat, and did several other things with the cat. Now, it didn't take a great deal of effort for anybody to realise that it was the same man, as he had actually told them where the bodies were and what he'd done to them.
Pat was saying was that...
Disappointed by the police's lack of success, gay associations take action. Crisis meetings follow one another. Through the intermediary of sympathizers, the Gallup Association for the Defense of Gays Against Violence, presided over by Jeremy Clark, has succeeded in bringing troubling and corroborating testimony to light. Witnesses afraid of revealing themselves to Scotland Yard for fear of losing their anonymity have confided in this association.
Of a female victim, a lesbian, who was standing in the street outside her flat on the Winstanley.
I was going to do since Inspector Bainham's actually new to... So they were quite slow to make those sorts of links with each other and with us. It was, in fact, our organisation that made the initial links, partly because, as well as the Peter Walker murder, we'd had some worrying information about similar attacks going on. So we had made the police aware that we thought there was either a dangerous individual or several dangerous individuals carrying out similar sorts of crimes. Then when the Andrew Collier murder happened, we said we thought that was definitely linked to the Peter Walker one, and that inquiry team should contact the Peter Walker murder squad, which they did, and from that point onwards then they realised they were dealing with the same individual.
Only 1 week later, the killer struck again. His next victim was a homosexual well known for his penchant for leather and sadomasochism.
Four days before the annual Lesbian and Gay Pride Festival, police got this call, again from a man claiming to be the killer, saying, "I've killed another one and you don't even know about that, do you?" So this caused the panic that created the midnight press conference, because Emmanuel Spiteri, this chef from Lewisham in South London, had been found dead at his flat.
Around midnight on June 15th, a trace of the killer was found in southeast London. He was seen in the company of a gay man in leather, walking from the Catford train station to the home of the man he had picked up, Emmanuel Spiteri. A few hours later, Spiteri's bound and gagged body was found suffocated to death in his Catford apartment.
There was this mad week at the start of June when the police and the press conjured up this hysteria around the fact that they were looking for a serial killer.
On June 17th, in an atmosphere of panic, Inspector Ken John of Scotland Yard admits to the press that the shadowy murderer is indeed a serial killer.
Enough is enough. Enough pain, enough anxiety, enough tragedy. Give yourself up. Your terms, wherever you dictate, venue, time.
They've picked up a casual friend.
They didn't ask the gay press to come along, and people were really annoyed about that, and we shouted at them and said, look, you must, if you want to warn gay men in London about who they're going to go home with because there's a serial killer on the loose, you must invite the gay press because otherwise you're going to get the tabloids there, and gay men don't read the tabloids, or at least don't trust them.
If you dispute any of the recordings of them.
The absence of the homosexual media at the Scotland Yard press conference provokes a major debate in the community. The presence of the Gallup Association is not enough to appease the homosexual community's anger. The police have found no clues significant enough to catch the killer. Not only is Scotland Yard powerless, it appears to be dragging its feet.
Yeah, I think so. We had a case about 6 months ago where one of my staff was attacked badly, taken to St Thomas's. It was a homophobic attack, actually.
I think that is a mistake, but basically that's down to the press bureau at Scotland Yard. They obviously don't have sufficiently good relations or sufficiently efficient relations with the gay press to be able to automatically include them. But I think that certainly where there are crimes which involve the gay press in helping solve them, obviously that's got to be looked at and altered.
This is John O'Donnell. He is a member of the English National Police Force and will reveal to us some of the most extraordinary tools of the London police, used most notably in its war against IRA, terrorism.
Just say this is an operational room, so you'll have to keep the level of noise down, and if there's something occurs, we might have to ask you to leave. Okay. Well.
In his 6-story building, O'Donnell watches London through several hundred cameras that cover the city. On June 15th, around 11 p.m., one of the surveillance cameras at Charing Cross Station picks out a man in the company of the last victim, Emmanuel Spiteri, 2 hours before he is killed. This man will become the most wanted man in England, witness number 1.
There are a total of, I think it's 72 cameras at Charing Cross Station, and each bank of 16 cameras feeds back into this control room. And we're able to view around Charing Cross Station through this bank of 72 cameras. Here you see an example of just one of them, but we could move around the station and look around. If there was an incident actually occurring, we could move from one part of the station to the other. If there's an incident occurs outside in the street which may affect the railway station, if it was a serious enough incident, as in a recent murder case, what we would do is to attach one of our officers to the murder incident room team, and we would tell the Metropolitan Police of the existence of the tape which may be of interest to them and allow them to view that tape. That has occurred in recent weeks, actually.
After enlarging the photo taken at Charing Cross, the police were surprised to see that it had little resemblance to the police likeness that had been established on the testimony of the homosexuals. These 2 pictures may designate 2 different men. The police likeness, the killer, and the photo, witness number 1. The 2 portraits are printed in the thousands and posted up at gay meeting places.
I pointed out that he was likely to be 30 to 40-year-old white male living in and around the London area, likely to have the same occupation as his victims, come from the same kind of occupational background, likely to be a loner, likely to be in and out of relationships rather than a long, detailed relationship, and is likely to be an active homosexual. I would support the argument of he's active homosexual by the fact that he's been able to pick up at least 5 men and go back to their house, home, whatever. So he's obviously coming across as a homosexual.
Several days before the annual Gay Pride Festival, anger and anxiety are at a height.
From the first moment that the information was all released to the press, I was very suspicious of it because it coincided with Gay Pride. And basically, I haven't trusted it at all, the information. I was sort of just a bit concerned, I suppose, that it was used in a way to terrorise and also to totally put a negative kind of view on the Gay Pride this year in Steps of Art. I think it's an ideal opportunity to yeah, basically to abuse information and I don't know, terrorise a group of people, I suppose. Yeah.
On June 19th, 4 days after Emanuel Spiteri's murder, the demonstrators are dumbfounded by a sudden influx of cameras and police. Policemen even distribute portraits of the killer to the crowd.
We're hoping for people to come forward who may have known the victims, or who may have information about the movements, or who may be aware of who they were with.
We are very angry, though, that the police have taken so long to warn the gay community when they knew this serial killer was on the loose. They should have told us many, many days, if not weeks ago.
Andrew returns to Coleherne Pub. Walker and Bradley have lived nearby. He's finding out if sexual behavior has changed in the community since the string of murders began.
I think myself and my friends were more aware of the fact that we had to be more careful. And I mean, the pictures were portrayed all over the papers and the TV, and you know, I think you made you know, a mental note of what the person looked like. Basically, it was just a matter of being more cautious, and you know, and being more aware of the fact that there was someone out there that was threatening and wanting to do a serious harm to gay men.
The interesting thing is he's quite clearly targeted his victims. The thing about serial killers is they target victims, they have a special person in mind. The killing never quite satisfies them. It's like looking at a beautiful meal and then not being quite satisfied if the meal doesn't live up to the image. Well, killing people doesn't quite live up to the fantasy that's driven him to kill. So he has to kill again, and then again, and then again. And usually quicker, every time has to be quicker. From the work I do with my patients, they tell me the first killing is the hardest. After that it gets easier and easier, and also has to be quicker and quicker.
Michael Cashman is a homosexual actor. He created a scandal at the House of Lords by instigating the first kiss between two men ever shown on British television. He is now at the head of the gay lobby Stonewall.
The police have now found a video photograph, a video image of the serial killer. What is interesting is whether he'll be detected or whether somebody will give him up. Somebody will encourage him perhaps to give himself up. If the police actually find him, then we can sit back and say, congratulations, you have committed your resources, your integrity. If not, if he gives himself up voluntarily or is perhaps turned in by a friend, then one will have to beg the question, why did they fail to detect him?
The investigation is at a standstill. The police persist in not asking the gay community directly for help for fear of implying a recognition of its social legitimacy, and the gay community becomes progressively more impatient with each of Scotland Yard's blunders. Then an extraordinary case on July 20th in the office of a lawyer on England's east coast, 50 kilometers from London. A man claims to be the person in the company of the victim in the Charing Cross photo. He asserts that Spiteri was still alive when he left him. He asks the lawyer to set up a meeting with the police.
Tuesday morning, a man was arrested at a solicitor's office in Southend-on-Sea. Yesterday morning, he appeared at Horsefree Road Magistrates Court, having been charged with the murder of Andrew Collier.
Andrew Collier's killer is named Colin John Ireland. He lived here for several months in Southend, a run-down seaside resort. He spent 4 months in this hotel, which the owners and its underground clientele have refused to let us film. Colin Ireland is a loner, a vagabond. For him, Southend was a home base. He met one of his girlfriends here. After his arrest, she sold her story to the press.
I'd seen his photo on the TV, and then I saw this guy and I thought, looks strange and familiar. And it wasn't until after they caught him that I realised, oh my God, that's him. It was just kind of eerie that I'd seen him walking down the street. I didn't realise who he was and what he'd done.
He was alone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realise afterwards who it was, but...
In America, they have between 200 and 300 serial killers operating at any one time. In Britain, we have a handful at any one time. In Holland, they have one or two, if they're lucky, or unlucky, as the case may be. So we don't have a vast pool of serial killers. And one of the reasons we don't is that often we detect them quicker.
We are now entering the inner sanctum of the English police. It's here that confidential information about the 5 murders is stocked, in the software of the Holmes program. But computers are not enough, and Scotland Yard has not been able to establish the links between the different killings. Peter Turner explains to us how Holmes works.
Holmes was manufactured in the middle of the 1980s to counteract a problem we had with serial killers and trying to connect one inquiry to another. But the computer doesn't have a brain. It doesn't solve the crime for us.
The Holmes program is one of the first computer databanks in the world cataloging and interrelating homicides. It helps give detectives a synthesis of the clues collected in the field.
The 5 murders which were committed in the London area in this year, in 1993, was over a wide area of London, although they were actually all in the Metropolitan Police area. The first one here was in Earlsfield. We then had one in Kensington. We had one out at Wealdstone in the East End of London, and then one in the southeast of London. Without Holmes, these would have all been dealt with by individual inquiry teams, and it would have been very difficult to link them.
At this stage of the case, the Holmes system has not been much help. It could prove its worth in the future, in the verification and comparison of clues related to the other 4 murders.
Here we go again, another day on GAY, London's first lesbian and gay radio programme, with you Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 in the morning. Now, of course, today we're doing a special on the gay serial killer and the problems that it's had for the lesbian and gay community. And, of course, while we were playing that record, someone phoned in and said, did we know that he's actually now been charged with a second murder? A man arrested by police have been investigating 5 gay killings in London has now been charged with a second murder. Colin John Ireland, who's 39 years of age, was charged with the murder of Maltese chef Emmanuel Spiteri, who was 41 years of age, in Catford on June the 15th. Ireland, of no fixed address, was earlier charged with the murder of care worker Andrew Collier, who was 33, of Dalston. So now, as we know, someone has been charged for 2 out of the 5 murders out of the 5 for our serial killer. Today we're joined by Dr. Mike Berry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you think that it was pure luck that they caught him? I mean, the fact that it's all because of this video camera at the station, or is that something really good police work, really?
I think it's interesting that a man goes to a lawyer before he goes to the police. He's not in there for stealing sweets. He's obviously going to either defend himself against a serious charge or going in with legal advice to deal with a serious charge.
They've charged him with Andrew Collier's death. They've charged him with the murder of Emmanuel Spiteri. Would I be wrong by saying that he's naturally killed the other 3 because they linked the 5 murders before they caught the murderer?
No, he has to be, when he goes to court, he has to be found guilty of each individual case. There'll be 5 charges, and he may possibly be found guilty to 2 of them that he's going to plead guilty to, presumably, and he may not plead guilty to the other 3 and may not be found guilty.
But if he's found innocent and there is a serial killer out there still, you know, we have no idea who it is. We have no idea what he looks like or anything.
There could also be 2 serial killers.
I would want to know, why this man turned himself in. Did the police coerce him into it, talking on the phone? And if so, why has he only been charged with 2 murders? If he's only been charged with 2 murders, we don't have the serial killer, we have one of the 2 serial killers. So I think the arrest, as I have always said, will create more questions than it will deliver answers. And the primary question must be, what are the legislators in this country going to do so as to protect lesbians and gay men from the vilification, from the hatred that they face daily in the tabloid press. Within the tabloid press, if you encourage people to mistrust homosexuals, in a way you create a valid victim that is dehumanized. Once you're dehumanized, you no longer have a life. You are a queer, a bender that should be taken out. And so that is the big question.
We don't single out the gay community as something to shout about or to be any different from anybody else. We treat them as we treat the whole section of society. In this case, clearly, it was an issue that was affecting gays. I can understand why they're sensitive, and I know that in the past, sections of the British press have been ignorant, perhaps irresponsible towards the gay community, but I don't think in this case we're in any way guilty.
Is the Sun really different in comparison with the Daily Mirror? Because the Sun was really attacked by the community.
I think the Sun is hugely different. I don't think the Sun is anything like as responsible a newspaper as we are. I think it's a completely different market. Our paper is more intelligent, it's more political, it's more responsible, and I think it's more truthful. And we hate being compared to the Sun. Yes, we are both tabloid newspapers who sell more than anybody else in Britain.
Severely shaken by the recent murders, London's gay community is still not relieved. The specter of a second serial killer haunts the streets. In order to know more about serial killers and to shed more light on the London investigation, we consulted one of the leading specialists in France, an FBI agent in the United States, and an imprisoned serial killer. Dr. Benezek is a psychiatrist at the Gradignan prison near Bordeaux. He is one of France's leading specialists on serial killers. He explains who they are and how they act. There are people who kill many people at the same time and place. These are mass killers. There are other people who kill in a few hours, and they're killers on a spree. There are others whom we might call killers who kill at parties or in ecstasy. But those who kill on a regular basis with regular intervals, those are serial killers. Of the 4,000 or 5,000 unsolved murders in the United States, the FBI estimates a great number are caused by these serial killers. Roger Depew is a former FBI agent. He was the first to take an interest in the phenomenon of serial killers, and he's created an investigative computer program, the VCOP, that specializes in violent crime.
I would say that there are probably more serial killers in the United States today than there has ever been before, yes. In the United States, in 1963 up until about 1967, the age group of males between the age of 15 and 24, that population was peaking in about 1967, 68. But when that population began to go down, the crime rate continued to escalate. And so that causes kind of a mystery to many criminologists in the United States. And there's a lot of speculation about why this time the crime rate did not decline when the population of the most frequent offender declined. That also gives rise to the idea that there is a more sophisticated criminal in existence. As the environment changes, the criminal changes his techniques and his strategies.
The FBI has very recently created a new investigative program involving truck drivers. Indeed, certain serial killers, the number of whom the FBI has not yet been able to establish, have found perfect cover by being truck drivers. This enables them to travel quickly from one state to the next and to target ideal victims, male or female prostitutes and hitchhikers, while minimizing the risk of being caught. This investigative program, established for truck drivers, an offshoot of the VCAP, was also created by Roger Depew. According to the FBI, there are between 200 and 300 serial killers active in the United States today.
The number of unsolved homicides today exceeds the number of the total number of homicides when I came on the job. So there's no question about it. This is a very violent society, the United States society.
We are at FBI headquarters in Quantico, Virginia. Some scenes for the film The Silence of the Lamb were shot here. The FBI's elite teams are ready to intervene anywhere immediately. "10 years ago, the Serial Killer Investigation Center was set up in this building. All research concerning clues, analyses, profiles, and fingerprints are carried out here. It was very difficult to film these scenes for obvious security reasons." Welcome to Jacksonville, Florida. It's here in this city on the sea that one of the most productive serial killers grew up. He killed between 100 and 150 victims. He was raised here in Springfield, the poorest section of the city. Introduced at the age of 5 to digging up corpses by his grandmother, who belonged to a satanic sect, he was made a prostitute by his sister when he was 8 years old. He killed his first victim at the age of 14. The encounter with his lover, Henry Lee Lucas, in the 1970s turned him into the deadliest serial killer the United States has ever seen. He raped his victims, both male and female, killed them, and most of the time ate them with a special barbecue sauce he had invented himself. He has an indescribable love of fire, which triggers irresistible impulses in him. On August 20th, 1993, Colin John Ireland, called the Gay Killer, was arrested for the murder of 5 homosexuals in London. If Scotland Yard considers the case of the London killer solved, the gay community is not so sure. Doubt remains in the minds of many London gays because of police laxness in their investigation of the case and their serial blunders, and because of their feeling that Scotland Yard continues to treat them like outcasts.